The system does not need chains. It does not need guards or walls or threats of violence. It needs only one thing, the belief that tomorrow will be better. As long as that belief exists, as long as there is hope, today can be tolerated. The cubicle can be tolerated. The commute can be tolerated. The meetings that could have been emails, the emails that should never have been sent, the slow erosion of hours and days and years, all of it can be tolerated. Because tomorrow, because someday, because eventually. Hope is not what saves people. Hope is what keeps them still. There is a man sitting on a bench. He has been sitting there for a very long time. In front of him is a door. The door is open. It has always been open. No lock, no chain, no barrier of any kind. Just an open door leading somewhere he has always wanted to go, but he does not enter. He is waiting. He has been told that the time is not right, that he should wait, that perhaps later the conditions will be better. And so he waits. Days pass, then weeks, then years. He grows old on that bench. His hair turns grey, his body weakens. But still he waits, because he has been told that entering now would be wrong, that patience is required, that the right moment will eventually come. The door remains open. The man remains seated. This is not a parable. This is a diagnosis. Modern life is structured as a series of waiting rooms. Each room promises that the next room is the real one. Each stage promises that the following stage is where life actually begins. And each promise is believed because the alternative is to recognize that this moment, this room, this life is all there is. Childhood is a waiting room for adolescence. The child is told, you cannot do these things yet. You are too young. But when you are older, then you will be free. The child looks at the adults and sees what appears to be freedom. The adults come and go as they please. The adults make their own decisions. The adults seem to be living the life that the child is only preparing for. The child believes this. Why wouldn't they? Everyone around them speaks as if this is true. The language of childhood is saturated with delay. Wait until you're older. You'll understand when you grow up. Someday, you'll be able to do whatever you want. The child files this away. The child learns to wait. Adolescence arrives. It is not freedom. It is another waiting room with different furniture. High school is preparation for college. The teenager is told, these years do not count yet. You are building towards something. The real life begins after graduation. The teenager looks at the college students and sees what appears to be freedom. No parents watching, no curfews, no one telling them what to do. The teenager counts the days until graduation, believing that crossing that stage will be the crossing into actual life. The teenager believes this too. They push through. They wait. College arrives. It is not freedom. It is preparation for career. The student is told, this is an investment. You are not supposed to enjoy this fully. You are building credentials that will pay off later. These 4 years are a down payment on the life you will live afterward. The student looks at the working adults and sees what appears to be freedom, money, independence, the ability to buy things, go places, make choices without asking permission. The student takes on debt. The student sacrifices sleep and health and relationships. The student waits. The career arrives. It is not freedom. It is another waiting room dressed in different clothes, decorated with the illusion of arrival. Entry level is preparation for mid-level. Mid-level is preparation for senior. Senior is preparation for executive. Each rung of the ladder promises that the next rung is where the exhaustion ends and the living begins. But the next rung comes with more responsibility, more hours, more pressure. The corner office has a better view, but the same trap. The higher salary purchases more expensive versions of the same dissatisfaction. The phrase echoes through decades, unspoken but ever present. When this is over, then I'll finally live. It is whispered in morning commutes, staring at brake lights on highways. It is muttered in evening exhaustion, too tired to do anything but collapse. It is the mantra of the waiting room, repeated so often it stops sounding like a delay and starts sounding like a plan. The career continues. The promotions come or they do not. The salary increases or it stagnates. But the waiting room remains. Now it is preparation for retirement. The worker is told just a few more years, just a few more sacrifices, and then you will finally be free to live the life you have been postponing for 5 decades. The worker believes this. They have believed every version of this promise their entire life. They believed it in childhood, in adolescence, in college, in early career. Why would this version be different? And so they wait. They count the years until retirement, like a prisoner counting days until release. They plan what they will do when they are finally free. They imagine the travel, the hobbies, the time with family, the life they have been deferring since they were old enough to understand the word later. Some of them make it. They reach retirement. They stop working, and many of them discover something that no one warned them about. They do not know how to live. They have spent so long waiting that waiting has become the only thing they know how to do. The life they imagined does not materialize because the skills required to live it were never developed. The freedom they anticipated feels like emptiness. The time they longed for feels like exile. Others do not make it at all. The body gives out before the waiting ends. The heart attack comes. The diagnosis arrives. The door begins to close while they are still sitting on the bench, still telling themselves, soon. The waiting room is not an accident. It is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. A mind focused on the future does not rebel in the present. A person who believes that relief is coming will tolerate conditions that would otherwise be intolerable. A worker who hopes for retirement will accept decades of work they despise. A citizen who hopes for change will endure circumstances that should have provoked action years ago. Hope is the management tool that requires no manager. Consider the efficiency of this arrangement. Traditional systems of control require enforcement. They require guards, chains, surveillance, punishment. They require constant energy expenditure to maintain. They create resistance. They inspire rebellion. But hope requires none of this. Hope is self-installing. Hope is self-maintaining. Hope turns the prisoner into their own guard. The genius of the arrangement is that it is self-sustaining. No one needs to enforce it. No authority needs to remind people to keep waiting. The belief installs itself in childhood and runs automatically for the rest of life, consuming energy, preventing action, maintaining the status quo without any visible mechanism of control. The parent tells the child to wait, not because the parent is part of a conspiracy, but because the parent was also told to wait and believes the telling. The teacher tells the student to wait, not from malice, but from genuine belief that waiting is how life works. The employer tells the worker to wait, and the worker tells themselves to wait. without any external prompting at all. The waiting has become identity. The hope has become personality. The postponement has become so fundamental that it no longer feels like postponement. It feels like responsibility. It feels like maturity. It feels like the way things are supposed to be. Anyone who questions the waiting is dismissed as impractical, immature, unrealistic. The waiting room has its own immune system. It attacks anything that threatens the belief structure that keeps everyone seated. There is a biological component to this. The brain is wired to anticipate reward more than to experience it. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and pleasure, spikes not when a reward is received, but when a reward is expected. The anticipation is the high. The arrival is often flat, disappointing, strangely empty. This is why the promotion feels less satisfying than the pursuit of the promotion. This is why the vacation feels less exciting than the planning of the vacation. This is why the purchase delivers less pleasure than the shopping. This is why the future always seems more vivid than the present. The brain is a prediction machine. It evolved to simulate what might happen, to rehearse possibilities, to live in scenarios that have not yet occurred. This was useful for survival. Ancestors who could anticipate threats and opportunities had an advantage over those who could not. The ability to imagine the future, to feel the future, to live there in advance kept them alive. But the same machinery that enabled survival now prevents satisfaction, because the future never arrives. Not really. By the time any anticipated moment becomes present, it has already been replaced by a new future to anticipate. The target moves the moment it is reached. The finish line relocates the instant it is crossed. The brain does not celebrate arrival. It immediately begins anticipating the next destination. This is why people who achieve their goals so often feel empty afterward. The goal was never the point. The anticipation was the point. The dopamine was flowing during the pursuit, not the achievement. And now that the achievement is here, the flow has stopped. The brain is scanning for the next thing to anticipate, the next future to live in. The person chasing tomorrow will chase it forever, not because they are doing something wrong, not because they lack gratitude or mindfulness or whatever the self-help industry is selling this week, but because the machinery is working exactly as designed. The brain does not want satisfaction. The brain wants anticipation. And anticipation requires that the present moment always be insufficient. The waiting room is not just a social structure. It is a neural trap. It exploits the exact mechanisms that made human beings successful as a species and turns them into a prison. The man on the bench is still waiting. He has given everything to the waiting. His money, his time, his health, his attention. He has bribed the guard at the door, offering everything he has in exchange for permission to enter. The guard takes the bribes, pockets them and says, "Not yet. Perhaps later." The man does not question this. The man does not stand up and walk through the open door. The man has been waiting so long that waiting has become the only thing he knows how to do. The idea of simply entering, of deciding for himself that the time is now, does not occur to him. He has been trained to wait for permission. He has been trained to believe that someone else determines when the waiting ends. He has forgotten that the door was always open. He has forgotten that he could have walked through at any moment. He will remember this only at the end, and by then it will be too late. There is an idea that circulates in certain corners of thought. The idea that life is a journey, that there is a destination, that the point is to arrive. This idea feels true. It matches the structure of the waiting room. It matches the language of progress, of climbing, of getting somewhere. It validates all the waiting by promising that the waiting leads to something. It makes the postponement feel purposeful. The entire culture is built on this idea. The language reflects it. People speak of going places and making progress and climbing the ladder and reaching their potential. The metaphors are all spatial, directional, implying movement from one place to another place that is better. But there is another way to see it. What if life was never a journey at all? What if it was music? The point of music is not to reach the final note. No one listens to a symphony hoping to get to the end faster. No one measures the success of a song by how quickly it concludes. A symphony that rushes to its ending is not a better symphony. It is a worse one. The point of music is the playing. The point is the sound moving through time. The point is the experience of each measure as it unfolds, not as preparation for the next measure, but as a complete thing in itself. Every moment of the music is the music. The beginning is not preparation for the middle. The middle is not preparation for the end. Each passage exists for itself, contains the fullness of the piece in that instant, is worth attending to completely. If life is music, then the waiting room is a catastrophic misunderstanding. It is listening to a symphony while wishing it would hurry up and finish. It is dancing while counting the minutes until the song ends. It is being present at a concert but mentally living in the car ride home. The waiting room promises that meaning is at the end. Music suggests that meaning is now in this measure, in this breath, in this note that will never sound again. A child does not listen to music waiting for adulthood. A young person does not listen to music waiting for success. A worker does not listen to music waiting for retirement. The music is playing now. It has always been playing. It will not play louder or better or more meaningfully at some future moment. The dance that was postponed until conditions improved, that dance was supposed to happen to this music. The music that is playing right now. The music that has been playing all along while everyone sat in waiting rooms telling themselves, not yet, but soon. The phrase that runs through every waiting room, when this is over, then I'll finally begin, reveals itself differently with time. It is not a plan. It is a postponement disguised as a plan. It is a way of saying, this moment does not count. This hour does not count. This day, this week, this year, none of it counts. Only the future counts. Only the arrival counts. But the arrival never comes, because the future is not a place. The future is a moving target. The future is always exactly one step ahead, no matter how many steps are taken. The person who lives for the future is living for something that does not exist. They are sacrificing the real for the imaginary. They are trading the actual moment, the only moment they will ever have, for a fantasy of a better moment that, when it arrives, will immediately be traded for another fantasy. This is not living. This is waiting to live. And the waiting can consume an entire lifetime without the living ever beginning. The man on the bench has a question. He has been waiting for so long. He has seen no one else approach the door, no one else sit on the bench, no one else negotiate with the guard. In all his years of waiting, he has been alone. And now, as his strength fades, as his time runs out, he finally asks, why? Why has no one else come to this door? If everyone seeks what lies beyond it, why has he been the only one waiting here? The guard looks at him. The guard has been watching him for all these years, taking his bribes, telling him to wait. And now the guard answers, this door was made only for you. No one else could ever have entered it. And now that you are dying, I am going to close it. The door shuts. The man dies. He never walked through. The cruelty of this is precise. The door was always his. The door was always open. No one was actually preventing him from entering. The guard was not a barrier. The guard was a test. A test of whether the man would choose for himself or wait forever for permission. And the man waited for permission. The man had been trained his entire life to wait for permission, to wait for the right moment, to wait for conditions to improve, to wait for someone in authority to nod and say, now. Now you may enter. Now you may live. The permission never came. It was never going to come. The guard was never going to say yes. That was not the guard's function. The guard's function was to see whether the man would ever stop asking. The door closes. The man dies. He never walked through. And the horror of it is that the door was made only for him. No one else was ever going to use it. No one else was ever going to be tested by this particular guard in front of this particular door. The opportunity was singular, unique, unrepeatable. It was his and his alone. And he spent his entire life waiting for permission to take it. This is what happens to a life spent in the waiting room. The door, whatever it represents, the life actually wanted, the work actually meaningful, the relationships actually deep, the risks actually taken, was open the entire time. No one was blocking it. The guard had no weapon, no authority, no power to prevent entry. The only thing preventing entry was the belief that entry required permission, the belief that the time was not right, the belief that waiting was the responsible thing to do. Hope kept the man on the bench. Hope that someday the guard would nod, the conditions would align, the moment would finally be correct. Hope that waited and waited and waited until there was no time left to do anything but wait. Hope did not save him. Hope was what killed him. Hope was what kept him on the bench while his door stood open and his life ticked away and his opportunity rotted in front of him like fruit that no one picks. This is the inversion that most people never consider. Hope is universally celebrated. Hope is sold as the thing that keeps people going, the light in the darkness, the force that makes survival possible. And in certain contexts, this is true. Hope can sustain someone through genuine crisis. Hope can provide the will to endure when endurance is the only option. But in the context of the waiting room, hope serves a different function. Hope keeps people tolerating conditions they should not tolerate. Hope keeps people postponing action they should be taking now. Hope keeps people seated on benches, facing open doors, waiting for permission that will never come. The system does not fear despair. Despair is unstable, unpredictable, sometimes dangerous. But the system has learned that despair is rare and usually temporary. What the system fears is hopelessness without despair. The cold, clear recognition that the future being promised is not coming, combined with the decision to act anyway, not out of hope for reward, but out of the simple refusal to waste another day waiting. This is the death of hope, and it is the birth of something else. When hope dies, something strange happens. The future stops being a destination. The future stops mattering in the way it used to matter. If there is no promised land at the end of the road, then the road itself becomes the only thing that is real. This sounds like nihilism. It is not. Nihilism says nothing matters. The death of hope says, only this matters. Only now. Only the present moment, which is the only moment that actually exists. The only moment that has ever existed. The only moment that will ever exist. The future is a thought in the present. The past is a memory in the present. All of experience, all of life, occurs in this thin sliver of now that is constantly renewing itself. The waiting room teaches people to ignore this sliver in favor of an imaginary future. The death of hope brings them back to the only place where life actually happens. The person who loses hope in the future stops tolerating an unbearable present. Why would they? What would they be tolerating it for? The payoff that was supposed to justify the suffering has been revealed as fantasy. The someday that made the today acceptable has been unmasked as a lie that was never going to become truth. Without hope, the calculus changes completely. The job that was tolerable because of retirement becomes intolerable. Why spend 8 hours a day doing something meaningless if there is no future reward to justify it? The relationship that was acceptable because it might improve becomes unacceptable. Why endure unhappiness based on a fantasy of change that never arrives? The life that was endurable because of the future becomes unendurable. Why keep waiting when it is finally clear that the waiting is the trap itself and something has to change? Not because of inspiration or motivation or a sudden burst of positivity, not because of a vision board or an affirmation or a morning routine, but because the waiting room has been revealed as a trap, and no one willingly stays in a trap once they see it clearly. The death of hope is not depression. Depression is hopelessness with paralysis. The death of hope, true clear-eyed hopelessness, is hopelessness with motion. It is the recognition that no one is coming to save you, that no future moment will be better than this one, that the only life available is the one happening right now. And from that recognition comes not despair, but urgency, not collapse, but action. If this is all there is, then this has to count. If the future is not coming, then the present must change. If no one will give permission to walk through the door, then permission must be taken. There is a phrase that people repeat to themselves throughout their lives. When this is over, when I get there, when conditions are right. They say it in childhood, in adolescence, in career, in exhaustion. They say it until there are no more days left to say it. The man on the bench said it every day. When the guard finally lets me in, when the timing is right, when I have permission. It sounds like planning. It is actually a death sentence delivered in the language of hope, a way of murdering the present moment by promising to live in a future that will never arrive. There is no manual for what comes after the death of hope. There is no 5-step program, no morning routine, no productivity system that generates meaning out of the void. What there is, perhaps, is clarity. The clarity that the door was always open, that permission was never required, that the guard was never as powerful as believed, the clarity that the waiting room was not a preparation for life, but a replacement for it, that every day spent waiting was a day of the actual life, consumed by the fantasy of a better life to come. the clarity that the music was playing the entire time. And the only mistake was waiting for a better song instead of dancing to this one. The writer who imagined the man on the bench understood something about how people give away their lives. His name was Franz Kafka. He wrote the parable almost 100 years ago. It has not stopped being true. The man who understood that life was music, not journey, tried to explain this for decades. His name was Alan Watts. He watched people race toward finish lines that kept moving. He watched them miss the music. He could describe what they were doing, but he could not make them stop. Because stopping requires something that most people are not willing to give. It requires the death of hope. It requires accepting that the future is not coming to save anyone, that the waiting room leads only to another waiting room, that the guard will never nod, that permission will never be granted. It requires standing up from the bench while the door is still open. The system does not need chains. It only needs the belief that someday things will be different. As long as that belief holds, people will keep sitting, keep waiting, keep watching the open door and telling themselves, not yet, but soon. The question is not how to find hope. The question is what happens when hope is finally, completely, irreversibly lost. Some people collapse, some people despair, and some people stand up. They look at the guard who has been telling them to wait. They look at the door that has been open the entire time. They realize that no one was ever going to give them permission. That permission was never the point. That the waiting was the trap and hope was the lock. And they walk through, not because they believe something better is on the other side, but because they have finally stopped believing that there is any reason to keep sitting on the bench. The door does not lead to paradise. The door leads to life, actual life, with all its uncertainty and difficulty and lack of guarantees. The door leads to the present moment, which is uncomfortable and imperfect, and nothing like the fantasy of the future that was used to justify decades of waiting. There is no guarantee that walking through will make anything better. There is no promise that the other side contains happiness, success, fulfillment, or any of the things the waiting room claimed were waiting at the end. Those were lies. Those were the bait that kept people seated. What waits on the other side of the door is simply reality. Unmediated, unpostponed, unavoidable reality. The life that was always available, the life that was always happening, the life that was being missed while everyone stared at imaginary futures. But the door is real, and the bench is a coffin that happens to have a view. Sitting on the bench feels safe. It feels responsible. It feels like waiting for the right moment. But the bench has a cost that compounds daily. Every day spent waiting is a day of the actual life, spent in preparation for a life that never comes. Every hour postponed is an hour that cannot be recovered. Every moment sacrificed to the future is a moment that belonged to the present, stolen by a promise that was never going to be kept. The music is playing right now. It has been playing the entire time. It was playing during childhood, during adolescence, during all those years of schooling and career building and waiting. The music never stopped. The music never waited. The only question is whether to spend another day waiting for a better song, or to dance to this one while there is still time, because the door will close eventually. The music will end eventually. The bench will become permanent eventually. The guard is patient. The guard has all the time in the world. The guard does not need anyone to walk through the door. The guard is perfectly content to watch people wait their entire lives, taking their bribes, telling them soon, watching them age and weaken, and finally die without ever having entered. The guard will be there tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Somewhere, right now, there is a person sitting on a bench. They are looking at an open door. They are telling themselves, not yet, soon, when conditions are right, when permission is granted, when the timing is better, when this is over. The door remains open. The music continues to play. The guard smiles and waits, and another day passes without anyone walking through.